She.
I don't know. We don't need to go down that road on public television. Television. How long we've been talking for a while? We could probably start the
Like 20 minutes.
Oh wow.
Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
almost
it's a flood.
8:30 there.
That is the topic of the show. Enjoy. Horse cocks, Gilbert Godfrey, testicles wiping, and balls.
It's just a clink clank.
Testicles.
Clink, clink, clink. Hello, and welcome to Strange Happy Hour. I am one of your hosts. Hosts? Hosts. Brent, the Jesterhead Metcalf, along to my right.
Handsome John Pettit.
Oh, and on my left.
The dispatcher, Mark Plover.
We're very happy to have you here with us this week, where we talk about video and tech news, video game specifically, and tech news every week. But before that, we have to discuss our special guest of the week. John, why don't you kick it off for us?
Hey, buddy, this is Quinta das. I'm sorry, I had to look at this because this is a little weird. Quinta das Carvalhas. It is a 10-year Spanish port, Tawny. It is delicious. It's a little bit different. It's not as dry as the Flagate.
It's a little tangier, too.
Yeah, which is the 10-year. I'm really interested to see how it
Compared to like a 20, yeah.
just like the 10-year and 20-year for the Flagate, which is actually right up here, as a matter of fact. Is actually very good. There's actually a 40-year. It's half this size and $100 for 375 milliliters. Yeah. I'm still kind of tempted to get it because I want to know what it tastes like because I've never had that old of a port.
About how much is this bottle?
That is $25.
And you picked it up where?
I got it over at Total Wine.
Total Wine. So probably another wine retailer around you would more than likely have it if they sell port wine.
And if you want to let us know how bad John butchered that name, let us know down in the comments below.
I'm sorry. I'm actually pretty decent with.
Make sure you put it in the description.
In the description,
It's Quinta das Carvalhas. If you want to roll into the R's.
2 L's or one?
R's.
2 L's or one?
It's not. It's one L. It is not IS. Ha ha ha. I got you, bro.
Yes.
I took 2 years of Spanish in high school.
Can't you tell?
Yeah,
I
really.
do find it very interesting because it's far more acidic than the average port, but I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I can't wait to have some more.
It's got it hits the palate wet.
Yeah.
It's not as dry, and I haven't made my decision up yet on how much. I think I like the Flagate more personally.
Yeah.
But it's actually a good drink.
The beauty about ports and most wines is that it depends on your preference and how you're feeling that day.
Yep.
So, moving on, we're going to talk about our buddy here, Theodore Harrington Collingsworth. No, we're not going to talk about him. We're talking about the important shit.
Important.
That's right.
I don't know why you're trying to trip us off. You enjoy us doing it together, and then you do this. I don't understand.
I was wondering how he was going to tie into it
Child.
because he seemed like he was going to roll into the first article. And I was like,
I'm a child. We're going to start
At
actually
heart.
with our buddy the dispatcher because we didn't talk about a flow before this episode. Talk to us about hard drives in spies.
oh my. Okay, I have to look at the name of the sensor. But and a university has done some successful research anyway in using your physical spinning disk hard drive as a microphone to listen in on your conversations.
That is super bizarre.
Okay, so hard drives have to be extremely precise, in particular with the read heads anyway, as they move across the disk to try to, like, as it passes by anyway, it has to read the information that comes off of it. So the head has to be very precise, like down to like micrometers, that kind of thing, or nanometers. So they have a sensor, or a position error sensor, PES. Yeah, positional error sensor. I got it right. The positional error sensor is supposed to be able to determine down to
After our last conversation, I don't want you touching him.
it's
I washed.
Are you sure? it's precise down to the individual nanometers to be able to determine like where the read head sits in position on the disk. But it reads vibrations down to the nanometers, which includes frequencies that a human voice can actually project into.
So this thing could hear you through the computer and all the noise that it is currently making.
So it goes. It's a little bit more complicated than that to set up, but it is a possibility. So like they've actually successfully done a high quality recording of somebody's conversation in front of a laptop.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right, including music that was playing and other things like that. Now, granted, there's other factors that come in there, like the fan on a laptop, or the actual sound of the spinning hard drive, that kind of thing.
So if I guess to make this functional, you would need to copy someone's hard drive, replace it with your spy hard drive, in order to make that work?
So it's a hardware replacement, actually. So
That's
it's,
what I meant.
it's-
You replace the hardware, the hard drive itself.
Right. So you're actually writing or overwriting the firmware that's on the physical chip on the hard drive itself
Okay.
to be able to make the PES data available to you. Because by default it's not, because
So
it's
it's not
a
an
completely
addition.
internal thing. Right.
Okay.
So you have to make that data channel available to the computer and then write software to be able to read from it.
Could you theoretically access it through maybe like a USB and put a little script, or you have to physically pull out the chip?
So you have to physically pull out the hard drive.
Yeah.
Plug it into a device to be able to overwrite the firmware that's
Okay.
on it, make that channel available, put it back in, and then update some other software to be able to read on that channel. Off the
So
hardware
make
device.
sure that you put tape over your screws, and if the tape is up, you mean somebody got in your computer.
I'm sorry, but I
Also,
feel like there's
That's
easier
als-
ways to
That's
bug
also
a
not
room.
how that works, but okay.
I want you to know
Give
that
him a pen.
I'm right-handed.
Give him a pen. In like for the horse or for you?
Moving on.
For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, it'll be at the end of the video.
It'll be somewhere. God knows it shouldn't be, but it'll be somewhere. NVIDIA is looking to make an interesting purchase.
Oh yes. So actually, Nvidia's already secured the purchase.
Ooh,
man.
even better.
For a $9.6 billion purchase of the supercomputer chip maker Mellanox. Mellanox is probably one of the biggest supercomputer chip suppliers out there currently. They are a producer of the actual silicon chips anyway used in supercomputers. But NVIDIA was in a race between Intel and Microsoft for this software, or for this kind of hardware, or
Wow.
for this kind of company.
That's a lot of money to be putting up for this. So they must have something.
So these chips anyway are projected to be the sort of future of supercomputer tech for servers and for server farms.
So
the
there is a
idea is
plan.
right. So the idea is AI tech can expand dramatically. Like I mean, you're talking about like the processing power of. I can't even quantify of like compared to your home computer if you wanted to multiply them together by like 10,000.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of processing power takes a ton of hardware and a ton of expertise anyway into what you're building and how you're building it. So buying a company that has this expertise and then building it in with the know-how that NVIDIA currently has with their GPU and TPU TPU information right now for AI, tensor processing units for AI-specific computing. If they can build the supercomputer tech into it together, you're going to have the best AI platform around.
What makes this specific tech for supercomputers so enticing compared to maybe another company's?
You know, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I would have to say it's like they didn't specify, I guess, in the article
Any reason? Okay.
right? Because it's trade secret information.
Okay,
and,
yeah,
they wouldn't
makes
really
sense.
release that kind of stuff. So I guess whatever it is they're producing has NVIDIA, Intel, and Microsoft all being like, yes, we need to bid for it. Which, by the way, I'm sorry, it was 6.9, not 9.6.
Okay.
$6.9 billion, which is actually a full. I think they said it was like $1.2 billion over their evaluated price.
I'm going to say they sent them a basket of muffins, and they're like, yeah.
these guys, yeah,
they're
sure.
pretty nice.
See, at first
Yeah, the
when I-
basket of muffins spelled out 6.9B.
yeah, I'm sure someone was really happy to get that.
Yeah.
It's at first when I heard about this, I thought it was more like the electric car being bought out by
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
gas
yeah.
companies, kind of
The
thing.
water-powered
Okay.
vehicle or
Yeah.
something like that. I was like,
So
yeah.
I thought they were just trying to like keep Microsoft and Intel from gaining ground, not necessarily furthering themselves. But this is cool seeing them actually further themselves
Right.
with this buy.
So
agree.
NVIDIA has actually taken strides in the AI space. So to me, this is exciting for them to pick this up. Microsoft, I don't really care so much for them trying to pick up the AI space. They've kind of faltered whenever it comes to software
They have
lately.
to put their money somewhere,
right. The
and
only
not
other
just in a bed that they lay on.
and
Yeah,
they
exactly.
can't give it away.
the only other company I would have liked to see purchase this would maybe have been Apple, just
Yeah.
because they have the funds to put behind this if they really wanted to do something interesting with it. But instead, they like to sit on top of their mountain of $1 point trillion.
Of course.
I want to see this mountain. I want to dive in it. I won't take $1.
I want to see him, but I dive into it too because it'll just be whack.
Yep. I have to say, it's Scrooge McDuck. Ah. Well, every reaction has an equal and opposite reaction. And with that in mind, what happened to Shockwave?
So with the birth of, I guess, the supercomputer company under
Mm-hmm.
NVIDIA, there's also the death of Adobe Shockwave.
Where there's birth,
Thank
there's
God.
To be fair,
Muy it fire.
Shockwave has
I
been
can't play
ar-
helicopter anymore.
Shockwave's been around since the late 90s. Wow.
Keep going.
Shockwave's been around since the late 90s. And was initially part of Macromedia, I think was the original company. Shockwave Player specifically, anyway, was sort of the first modern web tech of being able to display animations and high quality, graphics and things like that, and games and whatnot that you'd interface with on a web page. Shockwave Player was sort of the pinnacle of that era, like early 2000s, pre-2000s, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whenever it came to modern web design, and then being a software developer for it was super niche. Like it was really, because there was a lot to it that was so far beyond just basic web programming.
Because it was above Flash in the sense that Flash was explicitly for like video or kind of video game.
Well, so Flash actually was sort of the next iteration of it.
Interesting. Okay.
So Shockwave Player anyway was sort of the first of it, that kind of thing, and was the first of like the web plugins that you could download and embed into a page. Flash came as a result afterwards anyway, after Adobe's purchase of them in 2006.
Yes.
So
that was middle school. So that is the helicopter game.
There you go.
So the funny part about that is Shockwave Player really isn't available much
anywhere
anymore. Yeah. There are still some old games, that kind of thing, but modern browsers don't allow you to use that or Flash anymore as it stands.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use an older version of Internet Explorer or run Chrome. You have to flip some special switch, I guess, in Chrome's advanced settings.
Because you can technically still run it, but you have to go into the settings and modify it so you can.
The reason is because Shockwave Player and Flash are super big security holes, which is the big reason why the big debate came out whenever Android first started out, that you could use Flash on Android, but you couldn't do it on iOS. Because Apple said, this is a giant security hole, we're not going to allow this. Google was like, whatever, cool, here you go.
Figure it out.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
2017? Huh? Apple decided to nix Flash.
Oh, no, they nicked it from the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They've never allowed it. Never. Like, on a single iPhone, they've never allowed it. They allowed it on MacBooks, Macs, that kind of thing, because it was desktop tech at that point. But iPhones have never had an allowance for it. iPod Touches, none of that. iPads, none of that. It's just...
Well,
you geeks.
Time to pour one out for good old Flash. Or Shockwave.
Both, I guess.
I'm going to pour it into my mouth, actually.
We're going to miss you. Kind of. I mean, you've been dead for a while now, but thanks a lot.
Anyways, I don't know the difference. Thanks for working when you did.
Thanks for the fun all the way from, like elementary school through middle school for Computer Lab.
Speaking of more things pulling out, talk to us, John, about Vivendi. I was great until you made that face.
I was actually really impressed with that. I was like, wow, that was great.
Vivendi and Ubisoft.
So Vivendi is that company that was trying to hostilely take over Ubisoft. They were reaching that 30% margin in stock, and they were basically told that you either have to like pony up and really take control, or you're going to have to back off. And they were like, I can't take this over right now. I don't have that liquidated asset. So they backed off and made a deal with Ubisoft that they wouldn't buy any more stock after this current, I think it was around March 5th. Mm-hmm. They sold the last of their stock. They made a pretty penny off of this.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. Like, they secured all this stock expecting it to fall a little bit so they can gather the rest, and never did. Ubisoft kept killing it to the point where they were like, we can't keep up with this.
Yeah. So
they had to back off. They made a huge amount of money, but the Guillemot family held them off, and it's impressive because it's like the David and Goliath story, because these guys are massive and they have a lot of deep pockets, and they surprisingly didn't want to go forth with it.
So Yves Guillemot is the CEO of Ubisoft, and so his family helped secure the funds to make sure that they didn't get taken over. But it was a fascinating look at how business can affect these companies, because Ubisoft at the time was delivering, I wouldn't call it dud, but they were kind of falling flat. So this was at the time like Assassin's Creed Unity, the first Watch Dogs came out, like they had all these things that were just doing kind of okay, but not great. And so their stock price started to go down, and Vivendi was like, well, here's the perfect opportunity.
Well, they had a partnership with Activision and Blizzard for a while. Then they split ways, and then they saw Ubisoft kind of like faltering. They're like, well, that could be our foothold.
And so to Yves' credit, as the CEO, he was very, very vocal and was like, if people do not help, they will take us over, and we will never be the way we were.
And they will destroy everything.
And he repeated it every chance he got. I mean,
to a point, he said it even at E3.
At E3, I mean, he was literally, anytime they gave him an interview, they gave him a microphone, he was talking about it.
He actually got the confidence of shareholders enough to be able to fundraise enough to basically stop this
Yeah.
from happening.
And I mean,
Wow.
quite frankly, I don't blame shareholders
The amount
because
of leadership that would take and confidence that would take would be astounding.
well, and looking at their products now, I mean, we see Far Cry 5 and New Dawn, which have both kind of come out and taken a nice turn. Far Cry 4 was pretty good. We see
Yep.
Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey coming out. Rainbow
Division.
Six Siege is ridiculous and how much of a tyrant that thing is.
Yeah.
I
How
mean,
long it's been out, and
yeah.
how much it's killing
And
it.
they're
like-
still pushing out a
Season
whole,
6 this
yeah,
year.
and it's got a huge following. Like,
Yeah.
it is amazing how
so
deep it is.
it's not surprising to see this. It's great to see it. As a matter of fact, you're right. David and Goliath's story couldn't be happier about that.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Ubisoft is no small fish in this
Yeah, yeah.
pond. But at the same time, like, you had a great white going after a tuna, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And you would figure that it had no chance. But
Instead,
stabbed
that tuna turned around and gave you the middle finger.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yes, it did.
I was going to have a fish metaphor for this, but I kind of ran dry. So we're just going to talk about EA Play.
So EA Play is happening in June of 2019, but they are not bringing back the conference.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised with everything going on with EA right now. I don't think they feel like really having to ask questions or answer questions and stuff, especially going on with Anthem currently. I think that they want to show people products. They're actually going to be showing stuff that has not been announced with
I want to interject. Can you explain what EA Play is?
EA Play is a interactive. That's a great question. I didn't expect this question. Wow.
So,
you go ahead since you already have it in your head.
It is an interactive conference, essentially, but without the conference this time, where they have a bunch of fans come in, they play. It is around E3. So they pulled out of E3 3 years ago. They started this conference on Saturday before E3, because E3 technically kicks off on Sunday now, and then it was technically Saturday because of EA.
Really?
Because Microsoft and Bethesda are on Sunday. And
makes
so
sense.
with all that in mind, they basically were like, we have this whole day where we can own the show and do our own
Yeah.
thing. They did a conference last year. But much like most EA conferences, it just falls flat. So
Everything does.
this is great for them because they're basically adding another day. So it's Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
And it's a bunch of gamers coming to play, and they're going to have games showing on a floor where they get to display it to the internet. They're going to stream for 48 hours, essentially.
Yeah, they're
cow.
going to be streaming stuff that hasn't even been announced yet. They're going to be a lot more hands-on. The stream it's apparently supposed to be a pretty big deal when it comes to the stuff that we want to see.
Yeah.
Which I'm totally okay with, because again, they're taking the same front that PlayStation's looking at, saying we don't really have much that we want to talk about. We have stuff that we want to show you. And that's the difference.
I like it. I like it.
And it's like, we don't want to reiterate. We don't want to have to talk. You don't care about the stuff that we have to talk about. Other people do. And we'll have those conversations with those people in a different function.
Yeah.
This is what you want. This is what we're going to give you.
Right.
E3, for one, is a weird entity because it started out as a trade show, specifically for a bunch of vendors to come together and go, here's what we have in stock for you this year to showcase to journalists. And it has now grown into a consumer-facing show that people look at to see what they're going to see this year, on top of the fact that it's supposed to help journalists and vendors. But the problem right now is that we live in a 24-hour news cycle, so there's no more real reason to have journalists focus only at E3. And then, of course, vendors, they're communicating year-round instead of once or twice a year.
Yep.
So all the reasons for why the conference exists are no longer there other than tradition.
Yeah.
This is smart on EA's part because EA has a weird history at this table. You love Battlefield. You love Mirror's Edge. We have conflicting feelings on a lot of their modern
and then they
titles.
killed Catalyst.
And then they killed Catalyst. But then they have the other part of it, which is EA Sports, which I don't think anybody here at this table cares about.
No.
I did it one time, but not anymore.
And they, every year, guaranteed they're going to spend 25 minutes talking about EA Sports, which
Yep. No one wanted to
nobody-
listen
Oh
to.
my goodness, it's FIFA with updated players. Oh my
Correct.
gosh, it's NFL with updated players. Oh my god, it's NBA with
but
updated
rather
players.
than having that hour and a half focal point where it is, oh well, this is the part where I don't care about, I'm going to walk away. It is, here's 48 hours and we're going to stream 2 hours of EA FIFA. You want
Watch
to be
what
here?
you wanna
Here you
watch.
go. Here's the time frame you're going to be. If not, you walk away and you come back later, or you
Yeah.
pick up the stream at a later date.
Yeah.
So
Couldn't think of a better strategy, to be honest.
yeah,
Yeah.
for-
And I read this at first. I was like, I don't know if this is a good thing or not. And at the same time, because I wanted them to talk about Anthem,
yeah.
especially with the expectations
I think
that
I
we
have to.
Yeah. Oh man. At some point in time, they're gonna have to own up, because there was a lot of stuff that should have happened that never did. There was stuff that they promised that's not happened.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, as someone who spent $100 on this game because I wanted to enjoy it and I thought it was going to be something great, I knew that there was going to be bugs and stuff, because that just happens. It's an EA game.
I'm just glad I haven't purchased it yet.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing is, it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I actually am, and I'm not disappointed in my purchase. I'm disappointed in the fact of, the more that I am starting to pay attention to the stuff that I should have been, I'm getting more and more disappointed. But at the same time, like, there's stuff for me to do still.
Yeah.
I'm still enjoying the product. It's
Right.
not a bad product now that they've
Yeah.
fixed a few things. But there's
but it's not
definitely a lot
everything
of
that you expected
Exactly.
when you
Yeah.
paid for it, you know.
there's a lot of quality of life things that need to be fixed. But EA isn't really. They do a lot of bullish things sometimes.
Yeah.
And
agree with that.
Yep.
and sometimes it's not in the best interest of the consumer. So
It is really interesting to watch how that company moves.
I want to hear him say, "I care. I'm going to change it, and this is what we're going to do," or "You're stuck with what you got, and that way I can just move on."
But the question is, are you really going to believe them if they say, "I care, we're going to do something about it"?
I won't
They
believe
do have a roadmap.
I won't believe EA, but I will believe BioWare.
Yes.
all right,
Because
I
the
agree with that.
developer themselves, they do care because
Right.
you can see that in how they're handling.
I mean, the
game.
publisher's just there to sell it and make
Yeah.
money. So
Well, and I'm worried that EA is going to make promises that BioWare can't cash.
I know. I want to just take my 30 seconds to put my 2 cents on an Anthem, and I'm going to describe it, and it sounds incredibly negative, but I don't mean it as negative as it is.
He does, and he's been this way for like
It
a
is
month
30% amazing. Like the shooting, the flying, the powers for the suits when you're exploring the open world, amazing. Absolutely incredible. Probably one of the best experiences in a shared world, like open world, where I'm playing with friends. Then there's the 70% of why'd you do this? This makes no sense. Why can't I look at my loot while I'm exploring the open world?
no.
Why are the missions shuttered off? Why
can't
can't
I
I
drop my loot
Why
while I'm
can't
in
I
the
drop my loot while I'm in the open world? Because you only give me a certain amount of items to carry, and that 70% is a larger percentage, but it doesn't weigh it down to the point where the 30% doesn't overlap.
It's weighted. So it's 50-50, but there is a 30%
Correct.
disparity.
do you think it's 70% instead of like 50 or 40% because maybe those are just large issues and you happen to see the issues?
It's a ton of small issues that need to be addressed.
That just
Yeah.
add up together.
It's just such
It's
a
a quality
large
of life stuff.
amount of them.
I had to drop a bunch of rare equipment because I had too much uncommon or common crap that I didn't need. And I have no way of dropping it or destroying
Really?
it or anything.
So loot, the way it works is when you go out into the open world or into a mission, you pick up an item like a crystal, basically, and you can't look at what that is until you go back. So if you're in the middle of running around with your friends and you're doing a bunch of world events and
It's like
missions,
having a bunch of engrams.
yeah, you can't do anything with it until you go back, and so you have to drop it.
Interesting.
So that is the Anthem minute, because that was more than 30 seconds. Moving on
interrupted.
to another wonderful publisher who seems to be rising from the ashes.
Yeah.
Talk to us about Nintendo and our money.
So Nintendo has got its surprise hat on. So normally companies are all about making money. And right now, they're actually kind of proving me wrong on the whole business, like, selfishness scale. Though their shareholders aren't happy with them. They are, to say it lightly, they're holding back on their mobile development schemes to be making money. They aren't pressing hard on the schemes that make them money through that that you see normally through free to play games.
Microtransactions.
Yeah, all over the place. Not with Nintendo. They're holding back. They're actually stopping their developers from pushing so hard and doing certain practices that would absolutely make them more money because they don't want it to be predatory. They don't want to be looked at as the non-family console
Well,
or company.
That's their title. That's
And
their
they have kept
MO,
to their
like,
word, and they have done. They care about family. Nintendo is all about family, and they've killed it, dude. 100%. Thank you. Thank you for being the light
Well
that
done.
everyone else needs to see. All these
Well done,
companies
Nintendo.
that are involved with EA, Epic, the stuff going on with Activision. Thank you for showing them that it is possible to think this way.
Remember that CEO
and
would-
still make money. Yeah, not make bazillions of dollars on
Satoru Iwata.
one mobile game. But you are still making enough money towards it makes sense. It's still making your shareholders money, and no one is just being predatory.
I agree. 100%.
And it has been, it's been actually talked about openly. I think Cryo Games or something like that. There was a developer that was like, they are literally stopping us from actively putting in these practices that would make us a lot of money.
The Dragalia Lost developers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's wonderful. You've said everything exactly how I was feeling. I mean, I think Nintendo, for one, does really care about their name. Their name specifically means something, which is why they released a Mario game on mobile for $10. And it's still $10 today.
Yeah, and they
it's
said
a good
it's
game.
not a free to play; it's a free to start.
So,
And so that way it doesn't have the same kind of mentality behind it. It obviously has a different feel to it. And I really enjoy the way they go about things because they don't give a shit
yeah.
about what PlayStation, Xbox,
Yep.
Steam is doing. They're doing their thing. They are the family people. That's what they want to be known as, and they've stuck to that for as long as I can remember.
I agree, 100%. Kudos, Nintendo. Kudos.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of their rivals, and I don't really mean that in any way, I'm going to move through my topics a little.
Which, by the way, we say the best for last because you took them all.
I'm going to move through them rather quickly, actually. So there is a rumor right now the Xbox is going to release an Xbox One discless console. It's going to come out sometime in May. You're dumb. I saw it. You're dumb.
I just saw it.
yeah.
I didn't see it earlier.
I saw his face.
They're going to release this supposedly in May. It's going to be all digital. The name supposedly right now is the Xbox One All Digital Edition, which means I guess it's going to have enough I'm really concerned about the name. Like, I understand, like, from our standpoint, that means a lot. Like, hey,
Codename Maverick. You should have just called it that. People would have loved it.
yeah,
Codename Dickless.
there you go.
Hey, Dickless!
I am very interested to see what this means because this seems like the pebble that is going to start the mountain slide, all of it. Maybe we'll see.
The thing is you already have an all digital. Like, granted, if the price point is right, we will see how much people that care. But mom and pops that are buying something for their kids who are looking for a cheap price point to get into something that says they'll have all digital access to the store and they can buy anything they want to. This is really cool, and they can play Game Pass, which
I
is
don't think
awesome.
it'll go that far. I think it'll be Xbox. Okay.
Yeah, exactly, and
well,
it's cheaper than
but
this
it's
one,
cheaper,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
what I'm going to get.
I'm about to say,
If
Which
the
is
price
okay,
point
though.
is right.
Yeah.
In
You
this
go to-
era, it's okay.
You
Like,
go to Walmart, you go to GameStop, and you go, I want an Xbox. Here's the cheapest version.
Yep.
yeah.
There you go.
And they're like, this is all digital. The only difference is this one doesn't have a disc drive and it's cheaper.
Well,
Perfect.
The best part is, like the sales clerk back behind there is going to go, well, here's the PlayStation. It's actually a better one, but that one's cheaper, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. I 100% will buy this if it is $150 or less.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
Just because of the Game Pass deals
Yep.
and what's going on with it right now.
Games Pass.
Damn it, I hate you.
What?
It's Game Pass. You're right.
Okay. I was like, it is not. Stop messing with my head.
Damn it, it's not a cuss word. Don't write that down.
It's
Don't write that down.
It's a
Damn it. No, but yeah. I killed John. He's dead. I said I was going to go through fast through this. But no, the discless, if it really does help and they have the Game Pass involved and they've got games with gold involved, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a lot less of an impact up front. I think you're going to see a lot of people interested, but I don't think that you're going to see this being the wave of change. Because right now, our current Xbox S's are technically all digital. There's nothing stopping you from just using it as a digital console.
The only reason why I find this interesting and why I say it's the pebble that starts this rock slide here is because if they're able to get that Project X Cloud working on current gen consoles and you don't need the new hardware, this is a great gateway to get into people's living room.
Oh yeah, hands down, absolutely.
So-
And not to mention, like, it's cheaper than a computer or laptop or anything else you can
Exactly.
buy.
So-
like, yeah, if that happens, ooh, buddy.
We will see, but it is interesting nonetheless.
So can I note something here?
Yes,
Noted.
This was the concept when the Xbox One first came out that everybody hated.
100%.
Because
Well,
the whole
no,
thing,
the
this is
DRM
how you
is what
share-
people
this is
hated.
how you
Part-
share a game.
Part of it, they had other factors in there, which
It
no,
was
no, no,
it was
no,
the
I get
digital
that, but-
only mixed in with the DRM.
Right. But it's still going to be the same concept, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to purchase it against your account. It's not like you can give your game to your friends. And realistically, I think at this point in time, nobody really gives
When someone shoves a shit cupcake in your face, you get pissed off. But if someone convinces you to eat the shit cupcake, it's fine.
a cupcake. That's going to
It
be
was very interesting. I agree with you. I think that we are in a different age than when the Xbox One
Oh,
originally
100%.
launched,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think that's definitely part of it. Moving on, PlayStation
I
has
want to talk about it more.
launched an interesting app, but only for iOS. And this allows you, for right now, it's only on iOS, and this allows you to remote play your PS4 from your phone.
Which I tried to activate today, but I didn't put it in rest mode.
So, one thing of a caveat, you have to be on Wi-Fi. I
figured
found
that.
out
Yeah, you
recently.
have to be on your local network for that.
But
A
it
local
does
network.
map the no. You could just be on Wi-Fi
Yeah.
anywhere.
You have to make an initial link, I think, on your network.
Correct. You have
Yes.
to link your PS4 to your phone,
That's interesting.
and then
then
you can
you're
then
good.
access it.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what kind of latency you're going to get because it's your home.
And that's the
connection.
key, is that it depends on your home internet connection. It depends on the internet connection that you're connected to. So this is not recommended for something like Devil May Cry. This is not recommended for
It's
Twitch.
also not
Twitch-based games.
recommended to be farther
Fortnite.
than like 3 hours from your house.
However, if you're playing something that's a little bit more relaxed, there's plenty of JRPGs or other things. It's actually fairly easy to do. A lot of people have commented that
Puzzle games.
one of the
Yeah,
things
yeah.
they've done before has been like, oh, well, I left my save data on my PlayStation. Boom, open it up. I now have access to it, load it to the cloud, and now I'm on my friend's PS4.
See,
or
and
whatever.
that is something
okay,
that has
alright.
happened
Yeah,
to
yeah.
us in the past where
Yep.
I get there and I'm like, I didn't load it.
So that
Damn.
kind of quality of life, I think, is going to be great. And I cannot wait for you to bring it to Android because I will totally sit on my lunch break and go, platinuming Final Fantasy VII.
I wanted to actually test out the DMC5 today.
Connect it tonight, and
Yeah.
we can do some tests later for sure.
It's going to be interesting to see how useful it is, because I think it's something that's going to be one of those unique, like, little things that they did, but it's not going to be anything major.
This is another one that could spell either a test bed for, like, let's see how people interact with this. Maybe this is something we really dive into. Because it overlays the entirety of the PlayStation 4 controller over your phone screen. So you're just utilizing it.
Interesting.
Wherever your finger puts down is where a joystick is. It has the D-pad, the face buttons, and L2, R2 automatically mapped. So they're, like,
Interesting.
right there, and you can see them. Now,
Curious if it'll let you actually, because you can Bluetooth,
not
PlayStation-
now.
It's
I
going to
know.
happen.
It will happen, but
It's
not at the
gonna
moment.
happen.
What's
it
crazy?
needs to happen
I
like
know.
yesterday.
What's
I
crazy
know.
about all this is that the Android Xperia phones, because they're based on Android, right? They had all this functionality built in, and they had the ability to Bluetooth the controller.
Well, they're Sony phones. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Exactly, but now they're practically dead, so it's kind of useless.
Yeah.
It's sad. I tried to find the APK so I could put it on my phone, and it needed to be updated. I was like, ugh, come on, so close.
Yeah.
Well, no. Here's what comes next. Then Microsoft's going to do it for Switch. To your Xbox.
Bless it. You're right. No, you'll just have Game Pass on your Switch.
Yep.
Moving on to the last topic.
There's no way Nintendo's letting anything leave their system.
Well, but that's the thing. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they let Microsoft come in and say, "Yeah, you can remote control your Xbox now"? If you want to on this.
Because it's so much easier if you're just like, hey, instead of having to remote control your Xbox, you just have Game Pass.
Game
and Games
Pass.
with Gold
You
available on
access
your
it through
Switch.
there and you're fine. As
Yeah.
long as you can access your saves, you're fine.
Yeah,
Arguably, to me though, it's easier just to set up
I agree with
from a
you.
software perspective. So that would be quick for them to be like, "Can we just write this real quick?" Yeah, sure.
I agree with you. I don't think Nintendo would allow it because I'm with John. They're very protective of it.
They don't
So
like
if you're
I'm surprised they've done what they've done.
if
Okay,
you're
that's
literally
fair.
running a standalone app in itself in its own entirety that you go into and that's its thing, that's fine. But if you're starting to like
Play with their stuff.
bring stuff in and play with other functionality and they're just like, hey,
They,
get away.
they suck with online things anyway, and you don't need to touch their Jenga tower.
Moving on to the last important shite of the day. I found this one fascinating, and it's not really so much that we might discuss it, but there is a specific password that is more common than you would expect, and that password is JI3RK7AU4A83.
This information came from a previous story.
Did it really?
We actually talked about it. It was actually from the data dump.
Oh,
that guy
okay,
sold
there you go.
off.
So this is interesting because, as an English speaker, sounds like a pretty obscure password.
Yeah, it sounds like
Yeah.
But if you are using a Chinese keyboard,
Oh,
it translates to my password for
really?
the Chinese characters.
someone actually looked at that list and looked at all the and saw that password came up
Somebody
over
just
a
decided,
couple hundred times.
Let me
Yeah.
just change the character encoding on here and let me see what you got here. You know, like, oh my
So-
goodness, that's ridiculous.
Don't use that password because it's fairly common.
You thought you were being cute. I wonder if there was one person on there that goes, "No one will ever guess." This.
Yeah, it just was a story that totally blew me away, so I had to discuss it
Yeah,
because
no,
you know what,
totally.
this is
The
the important
important
shit.
shit.
Oh, look at that, we were unison, guys.
Yeah, we were
so
trying
good.
to. Yeah, because you had to
So
give
good.
that pause. and
Time for tots. Topic of the show.
Thank God we're not talking about kids anymore.
Oh my God! Thank God. No, tots today is about a different kind of responsibility, and it is a responsibility that we as a society kind of have to start thinking about because we enjoy these lovely devices. I'm sure you're watching our show on one of these devices or
Probably.
one of these devices, and that is how do we handle the mining of these resources to create said devices without being irresponsible? Because as of today, I mean, how many iPhones and Android phones did we go over user-wise that are active? I mean, we're in the millions. If you add them all together, billions.
Billions.
Yeah.
No, globally, yes, billions.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone through 6 iPhones personally.
Personally, and we know that from the article we read, there are 72 elements off the periodic table that are in an iPhone out of 118.
75.
75 out of 118. Is that correct? 112.
113?
Regardless, there are quite a bit of periodic elements, and almost 3/4 of them are utilized just in the creation of one iPhone. So how, like, there's just got to be better practices, and we have to start communicating with these companies. And I personally don't know, but I did want to discuss this because you and I are in the technology industry.
Yep, 118.
118. You work in an industry that is very much involved in technology, just not the same type of technology.
But they are also extremely wasteful. I mean, control boards have, well, I guess technically they're printed now, but beforehand they were using solder and gold and silver and all these other things that they use for processors, whatnot. Cobalt.
My favorite part is all that just goes to waste.
Yeah.
Literally, we throw it away now. It's
Yeah.
freaking sad.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we should be turning them in so that they could be stripped.
Yeah.
Well, the hard part about that is that once the manufacturing process is complete, separating those materials is extremely difficult. Especially if you think about silicone now being printed down to a 7 nanometer size on a processor.
Yeah.
Like on motherboards and things like that, it's pretty easy to separate, but you do have to burn off materials, which is extremely bad for the environment. Because burning your silicon boards, because the board itself isn't even made of silicone. I forget the material.
Ammonia,
names.
I think it's ammonia.
Yeah, and then they have the green coating that
Yeah.
actually goes across the outside to protect it from water spills, that kind of thing. They're extremely bad for the environment if you burn them. But that's the only way to get the metal materials that are left.
out of there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like there is a process that can be set in place, but it's a difficult one because
And it's expensive.
Expensive, but in my opinion, it is holding the companies accountable.
I think that there should be much. Yeah, I agree. One, it's in their best interest to
Yeah.
do so because one, a lot of this stuff is being reused.
Yeah.
A lot of these casings, they're the same product that they would use to manufacture. I mean, it's all aluminum,
Yep.
or it's all the same kind of glass, or whatever it is that they're using.
Plastics.
Or even the earth metal, the earth magnets that they're using for speakers.
Okay.
All of this can be gold, silver, of course, anything.
Yeah.
I think if it was the article that I read, that one, it was crazy. You could do 200 iPhones an hour that this machine could rip apart and do things. If you want to invest the money to do it, you can. Whether it's actually advantageous enough in the end, who knows?
What I find interesting about this is the fact that, I mean, as a consumer, I think we all know that roughly, and I'm saying roughly, depending on your use, to your mark, your phone starts to go downhill.
Pretty quickly, normally because of battery only.
Yeah.
And so
And Apple decides to input software that degrades your memory and everything else at an accelerated rate for no fucking reason.
in my
Sorry,
mind,
I'm so sorry. It's the drink. The bombs are flying.
have some more.
It is World War II in my mouth tonight.
In my mind, if you're sitting there going, okay, we're gonna now pass some sort of legislation. You as a corporation, you create these devices. You are now in charge of making sure that 75% of them are recycled.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is your responsibility.
There's no way to account for that.
I guarantee
No.
you.
But they can, is the point. Like they're branded with their logos on it.
And serial numbers.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
but
they-
no one's going to find them if you don't want them to.
Yeah.
Well, then you incentivize consumers. So it's,
The same way that you do recycling in like California, where you pay the
Yes.
tax up front and then you have to return it for the core fee.
But make both sides
For batteries. They do it for car
so
batteries too.
the reason I'm targeting companies specifically is because they will incentivize consumers themselves. If you start hitting their wallet, they're going to start making phones better. They're going to last longer for one, and then they're going to start having return programs where you return your phone, they get to recycle, they get to have it on their books, they have all their serial numbers, and therefore the consumer can get a discount.
God, do you understand how many millions of dollars that program is going to cost?
Oh, 100%. It won't be cheap to begin with. Not whatsoever. And they're going to fight it tooth and nail.
Oh, hands down. Well, the shareholders will at the minimum. But at the same time, like, if you're thinking about even if they get a hold of it, fine. We're responsible for obtaining these items. What we do with them is our prerogative. You're going to have freaking warehouses full of just iPhones.
Yeah.
Just chilling in places.
It's entirely possible.
Companies do grotesque and stupid things for the sake of money.
You are not wrong, and I agree with you there. It gets more complex when you drill into the specifics because you'd have to have oversight. You have to look into what they're doing with
It's
these
so
things.
easy for me to be like, yeah, why can't we just take the resources and do it?
Well, the other problem that comes out the side is how profitable is it actually to recover these materials?
Yeah,
because that's a big problem. Is that the expense has to come with it, which means you have to have legislature to force the company's hand into it.
Oh yeah.
Or you have to come from, and this is where I said both sides. Let the consumers and the companies both be responsible for paying it.
You're going to lose right there because they're being bribed by those same people not to do that.
Okay, we're talking hypotheticals here, not reality.
No, that is okay. Fine.
But no, I guess my thought process here is you've got to make both the people who are producing these and the people who are responsible for the reason they're produced in the first place.
Okay.
Both ends be responsible. You've got to pay a tax as the consumer whenever you purchase the device, or
And
even
you-
on a yearly
so-
basis.
I like the core,
For
not
owning
a
it.
tax. I think a core value. This phone is no matter what. This phone's going to be worth $45 to you,
Okay.
and you will get that $45 back when you return it back to that company.
And I agree with you because that way it could be imposed upon the consumer itself and not the company. They don't have to take the hit. That,
No, the company still has to take the hit though for production of it because they are still responsible directly.
He's asking both parties to pay.
right.
Yeah. Okay. Then yeah, I'm totally down with this program.
I'm
a company
I'm
being
okay
a
with it as
technology
well.
company
Yeah.
that produces the electronics here, or has even some indirect link to producing these, is responsible for paying a
that-
tax
Jesus.
every year on this. And let's even say, like, I own a vehicle, you own a vehicle, you own a vehicle. We pay property tax on it every year for just owning it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you do that,
$3 a year to own this phone means that at the end of the year or two that I own it, I can recycle it, or I can trade it in back to the company, that kind of thing. But it means that the harmful effects that it's going to have on the environment, or harmful effects that it'll have on other people, or the material, the cost of just extracting the materials back out of this
I
will
think
come from those taxes.
the cost should be on the company to extract the materials only. They have to prove that it was recycled. The other part should be a cost, like I said, a core value for the consumer.
on the consumer. And
Okay.
Because that is that is a easy structure, and I'm thinking easy because that's what people need.
Oh,
we don't
100%,
need
yeah.
more tax-paying money going towards keeping track of who is owning this, who's paying what. It just needs to be a core thing that goes into a
so
bank
then-
account that's not touched by anything else.
Well, so then you pull $10, $15 out of your tax return every year, and ta-da, you're done.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it be, however it comes there, I think that would be your best option, but it's not going to ever happen. Because these companies don't want to pay that, the shareholders don't want to get involved with that, and they're
How many
not going
times I have
to
to
let
say
it.
we're talking about the hypotheticals here? We know there's
No,
a reality. will
I mean,
happen.
But this is the part about being. We have to
Yeah.
try to get this to come
Oh,
to reality.
100%.
I do
Yeah.
think that you have
Oh,
a very
there goes
valid
gravity.
point.
Oh, there goes gravity.
Sorry.
I mean, what would be the approach then? Like, how would you want to tackle that scenario?
Oh, it said a core tax
No,
that is held and
with the
then
companies that specifically, because we're drilling down now the nitty gritty.
for every single item that they have produced, they need to keep track of, and they also need to report all of the ones that have been destroyed, and confirmation is going to be that we turn this in on that list. So we're gonna know which one. I mean, you can go back and forth on how detailed you want to be, but then you're gonna have oversight, and that's where
EPA.
the cost really comes from. Oh yeah, let's give it to the EPA. It's gonna go really well.
Well, the hard part is how many
They
companies
can't
are.
even get their other shit. They wanted to make drywall and concrete out of cadmium.
You have to remember.
It's a radioactive material.
That's cool. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, so the problem is
Wear lead suits.
Yeah.
putting that kind of oversight on the cost on the companies anyway, being responsible for maintaining that list and watching the serial numbers and seeing what's been destroyed and what hasn't, that kind of thing. That's going to fall back on the consumer anyway.
Yeah.
The company's just going to be like, that's fine. We'll raise the price $300 per device. It's going to be way too much, for what it's actually going to cost us per device to do it. But, we can make more money out of it
Again,
anyway, so why not?
The incentive is going to be you get your money back from the government if they recycle that equipment.
Even if they raise the
Because they're going to be like, no, you need to
But
recycle that.
The government
We
still has
need
to
that
get
money.
that money from somewhere, though. I mean, whether the company has to pay a bigger tax on it for being a silicon producer or something like that, or whatever it is.
If they were charged $3 for every single iPhone that was made per year, that would be $200 million times $3. That is $600 million per generation that they would make back.
That's fine, except it costs the consumer probably $200 to account for the fact that $3 that they want to pay. Or
But they can only raise-
They'll want to do that.
They can only raise the price on consumer so much though before they have to start dialing back because the
yeah.
consumer will only.
Have you seen the price of the iPhone? Or
I
the
have,
Note?
I have,
now?
but
I
the
mean,
issue also is that
they also released
subsidization,
the cheaper X.
subsidizing no longer happens. So
nobody bought it.
they have
No
to go with
kidding.
cheaper options, or else they have nothing.
Because everybody already
Or payment plans happen. Like that's
Right.
a thing.
So the one thing I will say that they will do, and that's something I would like to see, is that they make devices that are easier to take apart if that's something that's forced upon them.
Yeah.
Something that's easier to recycle at that point.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, best I grab this one.
So that is something I would expect, is at least for them to make it easier on themselves to manage. So
Dead soldier.
Yeah, buddy.
but it's still going to come back to us to some extent, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I
but
agree.
What I'm saying is, if you distribute the load in both perspectives, you're probably going to you're probably going to cause the. Well, actually, I guess now that I think about it, if you drop it in both perspectives, the company's still going to put it back on you as the consumer, and the whole thing's going to.
Well, think about it in a recycling era. Like, we made a lot of money back in the day when we were kids recycling a bunch of stuff. Well, if people are like, I don't want my phone, I don't really care about the $45, Homeboy's going to be like, okay. You mind if I okay. And they're going to go recycle it for you. You can make the system work for you. There are incentives and ways to do that I think that would make it a lot easier. And the companies wouldn't even hardly need to be involved because they're going to do it for them. They're not going to have to care.
Well, and quite frankly, I feel like this would help combat the rampant consumerism of, like, there's no accountability. I just put insurance on my phone and screw it. I break it, whatever. I paid $10, I get it replaced.
Or I need to have another iteration every 6 months.
Right now, even though I just bought a brand new phone. Like, I feel like there is a level.
But that's why
on the company's perspective, I don't need another iteration every 6 months.
But that's why Apple has the trade-in policy now.
You're right.
So that every year you can, essentially it'll cost you, what is it, $300 a year or $500 a year or something like that to trade in your iPhone and get another one.
So to me, it sounds like they already have policies set in place where they could easily just make this work, and they're making more money.
Again, the incentives are there. People will do it.
Yeah. This is a very fascinating topic because it's something that personally, in my everyday
It affects
use,
the world.
It affects the world, but it's something you don't think about.
Oh, yeah, easily. So do the electric
E-waste is
cars
one of
are
the
the
biggest
same
problems
way.
we've created of the 20th and 21st century.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 21st century. Like and into the actually even starting with the 20th century.
Yeah.
Like it was definitely something that we brought upon ourselves with the materials that we had to use because of this. And I'm almost curious to know what the recyclability is of some of this. I know it is recyclable.
Yeah.
But I want to know. I guess I'm curious about how wasteful it is to recycle it in some senses. Just thinking about the technical process of what it would take to extract the silicone, a semiconductor metal from, or a semi-metal from, a board that's made out of, you said it was made out of ammonia. Like how much more harmful is it to burn that off and to
there's the energy
extract
cost too. They're saying that it actually costs 5% more energy to reharvest some of this material than it does just to use newer material.
But part of it is also the production process. Like if we're talking about, again, like I said, 7 nanometers wide of making these, these transistors, how difficult is it to extract? How much do you actually get? But how difficult is it to extract 7 nanometers of silicone from a board or from a chip?
I don't know if they would be really, again, with the device that they were using, they were actually going for specific things like the lithium batteries. They were going after.
That's extremely reusable if they could repurpose that material.
Oh, the cadmium that they were using for the anodes. Okay. The magnets, like I talked about, the earth magnets, those are super rare. And the higher quality you go, the better the magnet that it is.
And here's where I find the argument to be very interesting, because you're right. Like, how much can you get out of it? But at the same time, like, how much is there here in the earth until we run out? And that sounds very hippie, but it's also
a finite resource.
Very true.
This is why it's a real thing.
Like everything that we've got is a very limited resource. How far can we go before it's gone?
Yeah. And
not much longer. That's why they're talking about it.
Especially when we're talking about
paradise to put up a parking lot.
Especially when we're talking about just our human, like literal human constructs, which are countries, which we have our own policies and we fight all the time. Like, with all of that in mind, it makes it even more difficult to think like, well, there's a lithium mine over there in Ethiopia. Well, you don't have access to it because it's Ethiopian. Oh, well, how are you going to get there? Now that creates more war.
Find a way.
Like
I've heard some stories about silicon mines that are
not great places to be.
Pretty.
Yeah.
At all.
I mean, dude, we were running through West Virginia on 4-wheelers, and I've seen what coal mines do.
Yeah.
It's not pretty to, like, well water.
Like, no. I'm not even
I'm
talking
actually
about,
kind of worried about the water we were messing with a little bit.
I'm even talking about human rights issues.
What?
I'm even talking about
human rights issues. Actual, like,
people are like
being killed,
enslaved and forced at gunpoint to mine silicone and to mine gold and to mine silver, like metals that are extremely precious to our societies now. Like are forceful now because they're extremely valuable to mine out. It's ridiculous.
Affecting China. It's affecting Japan. It's affecting Ethiopia, South America. It doesn't matter where you go. This iPhone has touched a minimum of 75 different types of mines in order to be processed.
What is it I hear? Depending on where you purchase your iPhone from, Your iPhone will actually touch. I think it's like anywhere between 3 to 6 of the 7 continents.
Yeah,
It's not surprising at all.
easily.
Yeah. So I
Plenty
mean,
dry.
it's definitely a problem. That
I think Australia's the only one. That's just because everything there kills things.
Antarctica.
They have penguins.
Okay. I definitely think it's
You
something.
never know. You might get killed from a penguin.
You could, yeah. Those things are big.
I got a
don't
great-
know that'll fool you.
Emperor penguins. I got a great story about that in a minute.
They're massive.
I definitely think it's something that needs to be addressed, and the longer it's ignored, and I don't necessarily it's not like tomorrow we need to figure out a solution, but it's something that needs to be talked about today. Like it's the
Needs to
start
be
of
figured out pretty quickly.
the conversation, because as we continue with this consumerism, as China opens up as a marketplace for these types of devices, as we're going into India, which is now another large marketplace. I mean,
yeah.
we're talking about expanding production millions into billions. So
They
something
have a kid. They have 365 kids pretty much like every second.
something has to be done about the scenario. So I'm glad we had
In
this
18
conversation.
years, they all
I feel
want
like we were
cell
very
phones.
productive.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. In 10 years, they all want cell phones.
So
Today they want cell phones. In 10 years they'll get cell phones.
So the interesting piece to follow up with this will probably be in the next 2 to 5 years.
Yep.
For what the next material is to replace silicone.
Which would be, what do you think?
We don't know.
We don't know. No, I agree with you there.
So there's experimentation in about 3 materials right now. That was the last report I had heard. Was 3 different materials anyway that are possible replacements. But the issue is apparently that 2 of them are not abundant enough to meet the production rate that we have
Oh.
200 million
for electronics
per
right now.
incident.
Like they can't find enough of it fast
Yeah.
enough to matter.
Yeah.
But the idea is that we can, because I mean the whole point is the shrinking transistor size.
Yep.
So we need to have better materials to account for that. Silicone can only go so far. So we're reaching the end of
Because
silicone.
it's going to bleed.
Well, no, no,
It
well,
just
'cause
won't- it won't be able to-
It'll start interfering.
well, no. So the way that silicone works, as far as that goes, is there's a material that sits in between it. So you have to shrink them down anyway. But the transistors get so small and have to get so close together that eventually, whenever you get so close to a quantum limit,
So they start
the
talking to each other.
the electrons will start to jump from one side of the switch, because transistors are switches. That's what they are.
Yeah.
But you end up making them so small and so close together that eventually the electron will just jump from one side to the other without actually being provoked.
Yeah.
Got you. So there's no actual connection. It could actually just literally go across.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because the electron is so tiny and subatomic.
The theoretical limit is 4 nanometers, and we're at 7. To put it this way, last year we were at 11.
That's crazy.
So the only limitation here so far has been the ability to manufacture this.
Produce them, yeah.
Right, because the way that we do laser etching right now, the lasers can only cut so precise, that kind of thing, are so narrow. But we're getting better at
As
it.
you get smaller transistors, it becomes more precise. You're able to get more.
I actually been into a place. I can't actually say where I've been, but they actually deal with those lasers and crystals and stuff that make that possible.
The FBI. No, I found this very fascinating. I'm glad we had this conversation. I would be very curious about your own opinions.
Tell
Are
us
you
how
right?
you would do it.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think is the best way to take this on? Make sure you put it into the description above us or in the comments to the right of John. It's
Below.
literally above his head,
Below,
to the
below,
right.
below.
You can look at Theodore Harrington because he's absolutely cute. But over here is where the comments are.
And he has a nut in his hand.
And of course, that leads us to last call. Last call. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I do have a couple of shout-outs real quickly, and they have nothing to do with other people in the world. I just feel like it's very important to let the viewers know. One, by the time this video airs on Friday, hopefully it's still the case, but the Devil May Cry anime is free on the PlayStation Store. So if you go to the PlayStation Store, under video, you can search for it there. It is absolutely free. When you purchase it, it is yours. You own it under PlayStation. So go now.
Badass.
Enjoy. I believe it's 12 or 24 episodes, one of the two. I can't remember off the top
I'm
of my
gonna go
head.
do that.
The other thing is please update your Chrome browser. Apparently they had a pretty bad security issue last week, and if you have not manually updated it or it doesn't update on its own, you need to do so now. So we talk about a lot of tech. I want to make sure you are protecting yourself as you view us in your Chrome browser.
Yep. I had another shout out actually.
Go ahead.
Off script. Want to give a shout out to Tumbleweed TV for assisting us
Woohoo!
with a new, as you guys would have seen in the last episode anyway, we had a rather new intro. Well, I'm still tinkering with that kind of stuff. So we're going to give a shout out to Tumbleweed TV as he and I are collaborating to give us a nice brand new one that's nice, new, fancy, has some animation to it
excited.
and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm excited.
The only ever time I'll give him a compliment.
That's not true. Tumbleweed's the bomb.
What do you mean? He's the better Brent.
That's not true at all.
With glasses.
I had to clean the seat.
Oh.
He knows what that means.
Oh.
Moving on
Did
to
he wipe from back to
last
front?
Probably. You'll have to find that conversation somewhere in the video.
At the end of it, actually.
Of our last portion of the podcast. My last call question of the week, because it's the only thing that could fit on this board with it being so full, is
You didn't like mine?
what's your favorite condiment?
You didn't like mine?
I'll get to you in a second.
Why?
What's your favorite condiment, Mark?
Say it.
Trojan.
Interesting. He uses Trojan condoms on his
On his
sandwiches.
hot dogs?
100% mustard.
100%. Like what type of mustard? Because there's whole
There's
grain, there's
so many
Dijon,
Regular-
Regular yellow mustard.
yellow mustard.
Yeah.
White trash mustard, as my wife calls it.
Really?
That's what she calls it every time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, see, I don't know. Dijon's never been my thing.
only so many.
Like Dijon, my mom uses
Whole grain
the
honey.
the honey spicy mustard. I've never really been a fan
Okay.
of that kind of thing.
Why?
I despise ketchup. Like I don't. I will eat ketchup on like
That wounded me, sir.
mixed- I will eat ketchup mixed in with burgers, but I don't do ketchup by itself, like
I
with
love-
the fries or any of that stuff.
I love the term holy ketchup
Tapas.
mixed in with burgers. Not on a burger, it's mixed in with
on a
the
burger.
burger.
That's called meatloaf.
Why yellow mustard?
I don't know. It's just been
Yeah, just your
something
thing?
I put on like almost everything. I can put it on a burger. I do it with hot dogs all the time.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a corn dog, it's always got mustard, that kind of thing. Like,
Do you put mayonnaise with your mustard on the hot dog?
no, mayonnaise is another one of those things. I'll have it on a burger. I'll have it mixed in with burgers.
Okay.
But I won't go out of my way to have it.
Interesting. That's fascinating to me. We're gonna talk more off air because I could have this conversation go on forever. John Petit,
Tabasco.
Tabasco. I'm not surprised.
No.
Not even a little bit.
Oh,
I
okay.
like it hot, baby, and Tabasco makes it just bearable enough for me to enjoy food sometimes.
Fair enough.
I love it on everything. I can put it on a hot
Tabasco
dog. I
and
can
the
put it on a
Tabasco.
hamburger. I can put it on a quesadilla. It is good on everything. Texas Pete is only good on fries.
Fair enough.
Fight me.
I have one very specific condiment that I'm going to call out here. And it's no longer manufactured, and it makes me super sad. And it is the Taco
Elephant
Bell.
gum. Oh,
Yes.
oh.
Yeah, and there's still elephants around. They can make that still. It is the Taco Bell green salsa. The Verde salsa.
The Verde one?
The
I-
Verde
Dude,
salsa
I missed the Verde.
is my favorite. Is my favorite because it's not spicy. I know you love spice.
The mild is fine too. I like the green Tabasco sauce. It's one of my favorites, but that was trash.
So
it was so
got a
good.
nice, tangy, sweet
Right.
flavor. My favorite thing in the world is to take pizza, not fresh pizza, reheated pizza, throw it in the oven for about 10 minutes, pull it out, green Verde salsa, the bomb.
I'm not gonna lie, the Verde salsa was okay on pizza. That was a plus. But I still like green Tabasco on pizza more than.
Well, that's because it's got spice to it. I don't.
It's mild. It's mild.
I
as
know
hell.
it's
I think you
mild,
would
but
like
it still has a little bit of a spice to it. It has more of a spice in the green Verde salsa.
It's more spice, less heat.
Okay, there you go. I also enjoy it on eggs. I enjoy it on my potatoes. Like
Really?
all over the place. I could literally put it on almost anything.
Wait. Have you been able to obtain like a large?
So I want you to
bottle of
know
this somehow,
that my wife,
or did you just get like tons of?
my
packets?
wife bought me 3 jars of the thing, 3 bottles, and we have them in the house. Wow. I know.
before they stop selling it.
So they technically will sell until May of this year, and after May of this year,
You better stockpile.
they're
bro.
done ski. I'm thinking about
He's
it.
gonna buy another fridge just to hold this.
I
stuff.
have 3 in my pantry right now.
So, dude, there was a shortage. There was actually something going on with the peppers that they use for the green Tabasco.
Oh yeah.
And it was like I think it was 1 or 2 years. It was just like non-existent.
Well, it's a crazy fun fact of the day. Like the Tabasco pepper is grown on one island in Louisiana, and that's it.
Yeah.
It is the only island that has the specific specifications it needs.
The soil, the temper,
the,
climate.
the water, like everything.
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that's not surprising.
No, it's also a really great way to protect your stuff.
Yeah, that's
it on
true.
an island.
It's literally a moat full of gators because it's Louisiana. That's all they have there is gators.
Gators and
Louisiana.
weird French people.
Louisiana. Let us know what your favorite condiment is in the comments above Mark's head over here to the left. Why they float around, who knows? Maybe there's a barrel roll thing going on. Try typing in a barrel. It's really cool. And until next week, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. If he likes it, put a ring on it.
If you like it, then you should put a ring on it.
If you love it, leave it in a cage. Whether it is
with no food and see if they survive in the darkness for 2 weeks.
Feed on
What
love.
in the
Love
actual-
solves
What is
everything.
this?
I just got Beyonce stuck in my head now.
Why?
Because I said like you put a ring on it. That's
Oh.
Beyonce.
I don't.
That's
listen.
Queen Bey.
I don't. The Queen what?
Queen Bey.
Queen annoying.
Queen Beyonce.
She's annoying, dude. I'm telling you, and he does some interesting things. Like he's a dude that I would want to read a journal about when he gets out. Like let him loose with some money. That dude would find some things to do that I think would impress you.
You went much lighter than I was expecting. I was waiting for like.
I was
He'd
gonna-
be
I-
like what I want to read about when he kills the entire household and goes to jail.
Yeah, when he takes a gun out and goes shoots up a school.
This dude just takes a trip to go to Wilmington to stay at a hostel.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's random.
Yeah.
As hell.
I'm gonna go ride with the wild horses over there, then coast.
Why?
Why not?
He wants to look majestic. He wants to grow
Yeah.
his hair back out. And look
Exactly,
majestic
I'm
as
gonna
he
go-
rides and his hair's just
I
flowing in the
don't think
wind.
you're wild. I don't think you're gonna ride.
And
a
while
wild
I'm
horse.
riding, I'm just gonna lean into the horse's ear and go.
You speak his language.
And that's
We're
when
both wild together.
That's when the horse trips over his own penis.
I hear they are fairly small.
What's small
Horse cocks.
for you, maybe? I was about to say. I was like, I heard that right, huh?
Yeah. Childish.
That's what he
humor.
says. Oh man, those things are huge, right? They're like 3 inches, right?
Killed the girl. He jammed it up in her so hard it killed her.
Gilbert Godfrey apparently had this video, like a cameo.
That was the transition, huh? Horsecock.
I'm getting there.
Gilbert Godfrey.
Yeah.
That reminds
He had
me.
a cameo video. I don't know what this cameo thing is, but it was a recording on Cliff Bleszinski, creator of Gears of War.
Yeah.
His Twitter, and apparently he was Cliff was just like, yeah, you give him a script and he runs with it. And so Gilbert Godfrey's like, I just want to thank Cliff Bleszinski. The man is so gracious, and he has the biggest cock I've ever seen, like 16 inches, and I'm talking in circumference. When he's with his wife, he just makes her pee herself. I was like, what is happening? You can find it, Cliff Bleszinski's Twitter. I was just like, what am I listening to? It goes on for a minute and 16 seconds.
This is not written.
No, and I'm just imagining Gilbert Godfrey's voice. And his cock was 16 inches in circumference.
I cannot hear his name and think the parrot from.
Iago.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what- exactly where my brain was.
And
I
I'm like,
closed my
why
eyes and I
is
could
he
just
so
see
dirty.
Iago talking about Jafar. He's a big 16 inches. To Princess Jasmine trying to woo her to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't work. She
When
sees right
Princess
through it.
Jasmine's near him, she pees
Well, not in the
herself.
Disney version anyway.
I don't know. What is it Arabian Nights? Is that what it's based off of? No. Is it?
It might be.
Yeah, I guess so.
It sounds familiar.
What Aladdin would be based off of? Because I don't think there's an actual Aladdin fairy
It
tale.
could be just like a play called Sand.
Shaft.
See how you could look at it.
Shaft would be like the iconic blaxploitation film.
The Samuel Jackson one.
Probably the original, but yeah, that one works too. They're
Was
making
he in
a
Shaft?
they're making a sequel.
I didn't know they
that
made-
is
they
just called Shaft, and it has Samuel L. Jackson as Shaft Senior, and then there's Shaft Junior. Yeah, I thought that was a little weird.
I feel like this is gonna be a really bad like porn.
I was going to say, the porn doesn't even
Are
have
you
to change
Shaft
the name.
Senior or am I?
Shaft Senor.
And a con.
I feel like your mustache is just.
I know, it's just boink.
It reminds me of what Blackbeard's like reportedly had, because he would just put incense in the thing and like spread it out. Like you do the same thing here.
Thanks.
You're not wrong. I am like a cat.
Yeah. Cats that things.
Yeah,
Wait,
back?
I'm sure.
Wait, how do we go from licking to fucking?
I don't know how we start talking about Gilbert Gottfried after Horsecock.
I really hope he has a tiny penis, but just big old balls,
I don't want to see that.
like softball
Like
size
squirrel
balls.
level.
Have you guys
Like just
have you guys
massive.
seen
Why are we just like phallic today?
You were about to say
You
flaccid?
just said flaccid. Entirely, this entire episode is entirely phallic, and I don't know how it got here.
You.
No.
You guys. You started the horsecock scenario.
He started the horsecock scenario. I was whispering to the horse's ear because we were bonding.
You said horsecock right after that.
He said horsecock first. He definitely said the horse would trip because of its cock.
I didn't hear that.
I did start that.
Yeah.
God.
Here's a weird conversation I'm going to bring up because it was brought up to me, and I feel like this is important.
But at this point, who gives?
Do you wipe? Now I'm going to explain my
Females
situation.
are different than males.
I do. I'm very aware of that. I'm going to explain my situation, and then you can go from there.
If
okay?
you go back to front,
so
what the
I
is wrong with you?
I don't. Wait. Yeah, I don't. I know a bunch of fucking.
Had to think.
because literally 4 people at work were like, yeah, that's what I do. I'm like, you're a heathen. How do you you get your balls dirty that way? Like, what is wrong with you? No.
It's isn't it? He's the only one that's skinny enough to do that.
So my situation is the lean, front, back. Yeah. Now, if I can, if I'm having a little trouble with the lean, because small stall, small bowl, stand and wipe.
Actually, my default action is to stand.
Stand and wipe? Okay.
Yeah. But it is definitely front to back.
Definitely normal to me.
I'm pretty sure that this is a normal case scenario for anybody of our stature.
Let us know how you wipe in the comments.
No.